modern-day fairy tale. An unknown construction worker discovers he's famous on the other side of the globe. We look at what's happened to Sixto Rodriguez since the movie Searching for Sugar Man won an Oscar. And we track down his daughter, a military helicopter pilot turned sangoma. Hello. For years, American musician Sixto Rodriguez's music resonated with anti-establishment South African fans. But he remained unknown in his home country in the United States. Now, after the documentary Searching for Sugar Man has bagged so many international awards, including the much-prized Oscar, the world is finally taking notice. But it seems we got it right well over 40 years ago.
I'm a rock fan. I've followed the history of rock all these years. It's unique. There's no other story like this.
It's a modern-day fairy tale. An obscure construction worker lives in relative poverty in Detroit, USA. Life is hard, and yet thousands of miles away across the ocean, he's a rock sensation. For many progressive white South Africans in the 70s, he was bigger than Elvis.
Then I'll tell who I want where to go.
His music resonated with a generation who did not want to fight apartheid's war.
And your attempts to be so discreet.
This is the incredible story of Sixto Rodriguez, famous in South Africa, but totally undiscovered in his native America.
And you can keep your symbols of success. Then I pursue.
In the late 1960s, American Sixto Rodriguez was working in construction in the tough city of Detroit. He was also a musician and produced an album, Cold Fact.
How many times you've been had, and I wonder how many plans have gone bad.
The album did not take off in the US, but South Africans loved everything he produced. Then he simply disappeared off the musical landscape. Fans in this country believed he was dead. Rumors abounded, including one that he'd set himself alight. Then in 1998, two Capetonians, Stephen Siegerman and Brian Curran, set out on a quest to find out what had happened to the man whose music they'd loved so long. A Swedish documentary film director, Malik Benjelloul, heard their story and followed them on their amazing journey.
Being a part of this all the time, I figured out quite early that this is not about a regular money music story. This is about something special. Sometimes, and I don't want to sound too weird here, but you realize that you've got a role to play that's a little bit not normal. And this was my role.
Benjelloul's documentary was the culmination of that search. It finally revealed to the world the mystery and the legend that is Rodriguez.
We've worked 15 years because I just felt the whole world needs to know this man, his message and his music.
The first screening of the movie was at the Sundance Film Festival in America. Searching for Sugar Man was selected to open the festival, an enormous honor.
As the movie finished, the entire audience stood up and started cheering, and we were sitting in the front of that, what just happened here? And then everyone sat down and no one left, which is a good sign for the Q&A. And then Malik came in and said, and they introduced, please welcome Malik Benjelloul, the director, standing ovation. Stephen Siegerman, standing ovation. And then Malik says, got one more special guest from Detroit. Please welcome Rodriguez. And I've never, ever seen anything like it in my life. Americans, it takes a lot to impress them. It takes a lot to show them something they've never heard of before. It takes a lot to show them an album from 40 years ago that they've never heard. It takes a lot to surprise the American public. But this man in this film has.
And the Oscar goes to Searching for Sugar Man. Malik Benjelloul and Simon Chen.
The documentary then went on to win an Oscar this year. A virtual unknown was finally introduced to audiences around the world. The movie's now also wowing audiences in Japan and South America. Rodriguez is a happy man.
He's just so in demand. Little places, big places, countries, cities around the world. He can pick and choose what he wants to do, where he wants to do it, and how much he wants to make. And that's the whole reason the movie was made. That's why it was made, because this man needed an audience.
And his message is one that Siegerman believes needs to be heard.
The movie is like a parable. In America, with all the greed and the poverty, here's a story about a guy who just goes to work, works hard, carries fridges on his back, so his kids have got food in their mouths, you know, and he's a happy guy. What are we learning here? You know, what is this? And you must see, I'm getting hundreds of emails a day saying just that. People are just inspired. They love the music and stuff, but their lives, no one's come along. It's scary. There's nobody around like him at the moment.
And people are listening.
A lot of people it's resonating. People are picking up on that. A lot of poor people, a lot of Mexican Americans who just feel they've got a champion now.
So why didn't Rodriguez originally make it in his own country? No one knows for sure. But Siegerman says back then, it's possible being Mexican-American was a factor.
Hispanic music wasn't happening until Santana came and played Woodstock, and everybody sort of caught on. So what's unusual is that it's been alluded to that it was a slightly racist reason in America why this Mexican-American didn't make it. Weirdly enough, in South Africa, we're supposed to be like huge racists. We listen to everybody. I mean, the colour of a person's skin on an album made zip difference.
In South Africa, his anti-establishment lyrics touched many, but specifically young white men angry about being conscripted into the apartheid army. He was regarded by music buffs as in the league of Bob Dylan. Poetic lyrics that found a place in the hearts of many.
Apologies to the whole of South Africa, but we call him the Mandela of music because these two guys, I mean, similar time periods of imprisonment, Mandela in a genuine cell, Rodriguez in hard labour, anonymous hard labour, and they come out of that with not a trace of bitterness or just full of forgiveness and understanding.
Stephen says the time he's spent with Rodriguez was very special.
He's a living example of goodness, and we don't have a lot of those.
Those moments after I think of you.
Coming up, we meet the daughter of Rodriguez, now living in South Africa.